working. Now everybody has to get their stuff to it.
What's the guy up?
Actually, it was Dave, my next door neighbor Dave. At some point in the spring, early spring, he was standing in 10 to 12 inches of water, and it started.
We are now live streaming, so everything is recorded.
Good to see you.
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is our work session, and actually tonight I invited a couple of folks from with the energy performance contract. We have some representative from Wendell here, Keith, and Steve Batita from Honeywell. So I invite any board members if you have any questions regarding. This was a thing that we voted to go forward with the having the RFQs. Or RFPs, whatever you want to term it, and these companies put a lot of time and effort into not only doing the RFP, but also putting together a presentation and giving a presentation on what their service is. And quite frankly, I have no preference actually, as long as my feeling is to select one of them, because this is nothing but a benefit to the town taxpayers, because it is a plan to save money, down the road, and also giving us better energy efficient. And again, both companies did a great job in their responses and in their presentations. But I think it's fair due to at least vote on these to allow them. But if any board members have any questions, there's Keith and Steve, and that's Wendell and Honeywell, so you're more than welcome. And again, the presentations were videotaped. I believe I put all contacts for each of the members into all the council members' packages, so they could contact them, but they're here tonight if you have any further questions.
Yeah, I think we should have both of them get up there and give us a summary of their projects, what they did. I watched the videos, I read through the materials, but I think we should put this on air for everybody to see in the town and for all the councilmen together.
Yeah, I mean, with you both here, thank you. But I would like to pull those until next time so that we can, as a board, after you answer our questions, be able to talk about it amongst all of us in executive session and have questions and answers amongst ourselves as well.
Well,
I
again,
don't have any problem with that, but we'll ask questions now.
Right.
Also.
You guys want to give summaries? Sure. Yeah, speak into the mic.
I'm not going to touch that microphone again. We've got a bad history. First of all, Steve Batita with Honeywell. I'd like to thank the entire board for your time and continued interest in the performance contract. Ron, as you said, it's something that's been looked into pretty deeply. I'm proud to say, on behalf of Honeywell, I'm very happy to be here. Obviously, there's enough renewed interest, I think, to carry this hopefully forward that the town can benefit. What we did essentially in the 9 to 10 months that I've been working on this is we pulled together a project, and Ron, you were correct, it was delivered through an RFP. We had a presentation on June 9th that we kind of summarized everything that we had in our proposal, and really what came out of that was a nearly $7 million job that Honeywell was able to commandeer by going through the buildings, getting a real good understanding of what was here, what was in the buildings, what could be improved upon, what was inefficient, what was deficient, and what we came up with was a pretty robust scope of work. But as I had mentioned during the RFP process, this was not set in stone. There's an ability to make changes to the scope of work, which would ultimately affect the outcome of the total cost of the project. Again, we're at $6.83 million. It includes windows throughout the entire town hall. This is something that we took a lot of pride in, a lot of time and effort to look into. The historical building as well. The windows are very old. They're inefficient. That's no fault of anybody's. It's just time and pressure and everything else that goes into buildings. So what we did is we looked at that. We looked at lighting throughout all the included town buildings. Retro commissioning, really what that comes down to is how are we going to make the buildings run to the maximum potential of what they should have been or intended to be, okay? Plug load controls, that looks at computer monitors. It looks at things that can be shut down at night that maybe by choice or by not choice, they don't get shut down. It's an energy savings measure that we looked at on many other opportunities. Mechanical upgrades, those are basically throughout many different buildings in the town, and it ranges from condensing units to rooftop units, split systems. We're looking at RTUs throughout many different buildings. There's 10 horsepower motor, there's a 5 horsepower motor at the library, boilers, I mean, the list goes on. But as I mentioned, folks, this is not something that says, okay, this is our final. Once we start into an investment grade audit, which we're ready to do, we're ready to hit the ground running. We've got all this prepared already. We took all of our time to go through these buildings. But now, once the selection comes up, hopefully it goes, the selection does come up. Honeywell's going to take, obviously, the invested time to go through the buildings from top to bottom now, really comb through. It's an engineered report, an engineered study that we also put in the RFP that normally there's a pretty substantial cost to that. But we decided ultimately with our management team that we're going to do it as a zero break, which means we're not charging the town anything. And we're not in the business of doing studies. That's just not what this is about. We're an energy service company. We take pride and effort to go into these buildings, whether it's a school district, a state, local government, town, municipality. We decided though ultimately from Honeywell's aspect that this is something that meant enough to us. I'm a town resident. I've been here my whole life. We collectively said we're not going to charge for that. And again, that could be pretty substantial. The transparency's there. The honesty's there. It's all in this project. I would encourage you, if you haven't gone through it, really take the time and, ask as many questions as you feel necessary. That's why we're here. So I don't know how much time I actually have or what you had predetermined.
Could you talk about the guarantee, 30% off guarantee of the energy cost?
Yeah.
Savings?
Yep. Absolutely, Bob. What comes out of this is an energy service company is going to ultimately have to put together a project that makes sense for the town, for the school, whatever they're working on. What we've come up with to date is approximately a 30% reduction in your total consumption of gas and electric over a 1-year period. And then you extended that over 20 years. That's essentially the basic math behind this. And really what that comes down to is how can we do that? Through these measures. That's how we do it. And to Bob's question, the guarantee ultimately falls on us, on the energy service company. We own it. We burden it, you shoulder none of it, okay? And if we fall short, if there's a shortfall, if we come short up on the amount of reduction that we promised the town, it's in the contract, we own it, we have to cut you a check. Honeywell's done this before. And am I standing here and saying we're not proud of it? We're absolutely proud of, listen, life's not perfect. We're a multi-billion-dollar organization that operates very independently though. And we've had to cut checks in the past. And that could come in the way of monetary, it could come in the way of additional services, additional product, whatever the town would feel would be necessary.
And if the cost of energy goes up 50%, it's still 30% savings.
You're correct, Bob. That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
We can't control utility costs. We can control what we've provided as a guarantee.
Are there any other municipalities you've worked with?
Yeah, Dave, we're working with several. We're in the state of New York. We included in here, there's many, many references. I started out with the company a little over a year ago, and the main purpose for me to come in with my 22 years of doing performance contracting was to put a little bit further stake in this ground, in this area, Western New York, right through to Albany. We've got a lot of work that we're working on in New York State, and as well as many others across the country. But yeah, we're absolutely loaded up. We've got some in here as well, yeah.
Financing? Do you guys offer any assistance with financing?
Absolutely. One of the things that we would do is we would encourage, the town, I'm sure, has worked with several financial institutions in the past. You may have a preference, you may not. What we could ultimately help do is put an RFP together. It's a 2- or 3-page document. You're going to send it out to your banking choices. That's up to the town, or we can certainly help with that. But let's just use, for example, M&T, KeyBank, Bank of America, whatever. You could send an RFP out and try to get the most competitive rates come back to you, and that would ultimately float the loan for the opportunity. And rates right now, as you know, if anybody watches the news, it's probably between anywhere from 3 to maybe 4%. They're slowly going up, but.
So theoretically, the 30% savings would pay the loan to the bank, financial institution, or a portion of a grant. Okay.
Absolutely correct. Your total costs have to be offset by your total savings, which we guarantee 100%.
Okay.
Any other questions for?
Would any of the system upgrades qualify the town for any energy compliance grant funding?
Yeah.
through NYSERDA, and so we're talking about replacements of the entire systems?
Depending upon what gets selected ultimately as a final scope selection, yes, we will absolutely go after any grants, any opportunities for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have a couple good grant writers. This was talked about in the presentation. We would work with the town's grant writers as well, and really almost employ them as part of our team. So to leave no stone unturned.
Right,
essentially.
and does the documentation that you provide show compliance to the existing building code for energy compliance?
It would. It would absolutely.
We would
We'll
ask-
follow any rules that are.
We would ask that we have that information, at least so that we have it on record here. Again, we're not going to charge our own municipality for any permitting of any of the replacements of the systems, just as long as we have the proposed information, any commissioning documents at the end of
Absolutely.
construction.
Yeah, everything that we work on, you'll see. It's all guaranteed, and we're looking at open book too. This was talked about in the presentation. We have no issue with that whatsoever. Anything that we're doing, it's exposed. The books are open. It's up to the town what you want to see, and we're ready to do anything that's necessary.
Good?
Good.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Keith Krug from Wendell. I'm a certified energy manager. I've been at Wendell for 26 years. I've done energy efficiency my entire career. I'm also an owner of Wendell. Wendell's a local company with 100 folks, within 20-minute drive of Town Hall. So we have the resources to provide any and all services that may be required for this project. I thank you all for having us in. I do encourage you to look at the proposals that were submitted by both companies very carefully. I think you will find differences between the strategies and the philosophies that both companies have with doing these projects. Honeywell is a reputable company, so by no means am I trying to discredit their ability to do the project. What you'll find about Wendell's approach to performance contracting is being an engineer, as our roots. We do all of our projects with 100% cost transparency. We believe in developing the project from the bottom up, meaning we work with you to collaborate on what the scope of the project may be. We coordinate with the town engineer on the design. We get competitive pricing. You see the results of that pricing. Everything's open, transparent. It's not lump sum. And we work together from the bottom up to develop that project. We don't look at projects from the top down. What I mean by that is, what cost can the town afford, assuming you have a certain percentage? This request for qualification was a request for qualification. So we were not able to tour the facilities to come up with a scope of work. But I assure you that if we were selected, we will tour those buildings and work with town staff to collaboratively come up with a scope of work. Just to throw out some order of magnitude numbers, I'm familiar with the town also, born and raised here in Western New York. I've lived in the town for a number of years. Your facilities are in pretty good condition. If you were to save 30%, let's say, that's probably, in the neighborhood of, say, $150,000 a year. So if you take $150,000 a year times 20 years, that's maybe a $3 million project. So just my common sense as an energy engineer, any project that is significantly greater than that, I'm not sure where the savings would be to pay for it. That's what guaranteed performance contracting is in New York State under the energy law, is that the company, the energy services company, provides a guarantee consistent with the law that allows you to borrow that money with the guarantee that the savings out of your annual operating budget will be equal to or greater than your debt service.
But at this point in time, you're not able to, guarantee a 35%.
No.
Okay.
Nor would I encourage you to pick someone who's able to do that, because think about any capital project you do. There was a walkthrough audit of some level, no design, no concrete pricing. We know that market prices for material right now are very dynamic. So to be able to put any estimate of cost together without going through the study and the design phase, it's kind of throwing numbers. It's kind of throwing darts.
How long would it take you to do that?
Our audits generally take about 2 months, and then 2 to 3 months depending on the scope of work to do the design. And then again, in our model, we're taking those design documents, those specifications, just like you would if you were publicly bidding a project, and we get competitive pricing from 2 to 3 local contractors to do the work.
I believe there's a line chart showing the stages in the presentation.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm more interested in when they get done with that, are they going to be able to come in here and say, okay, we looked at this, we can save you 31%, 32%?
At the conclusion of the audit, yes, we would be able to. Yes. You know, energy performance contracting is pretty unique in that really right now, the scope of a project is really unknown. So you have somewhat of the onerous task, if you will, of comparing companies and their approaches and picking the company and the process for which you would embark on a performance contract, because it's stepped as you go through the stages that you feel the most comfortable with. Kind of like making a similarity, you know, pick the best dance partner because you're not sure what song they'll play. And that's, you know, that's somewhat of a challenge at this juncture is some companies will provide proposal level information as to what they believe the savings, what they believe the project scope is and the cost. This was a qualifications request. So we provided our qualifications, and in the time that was allowed, we weren't able to tour the facilities, but we laid out a path. And frankly, working with, you know, municipalities all across New York State, we use the same process and they're thrilled with it. If you want to ask me what other local municipalities we worked with, performance project related, the town of Grand Island, the town of Hamburg, the village of Depew, the village of Lancaster, the town of Lancaster. We are the company that was selected for the LED street lighting project, Erie County, and the city of Buffalo.
Any other
And
questions?
what's the cost for the 2-month to put that all together?
It's difficult to throw out a number because, again, if I throw out a number, I'm kind of guessing what the opportunities may be. Energy audits are custom. It's one building you may have to look at lighting and rooftop units. Another building may already be LED lighting, but you're looking at building envelope or windows, for example. So it does vary. But the cost of the audit can be anywhere from 6-7 cents a square foot up to 25 cents a square foot, depending on the work or the energy conservation measures that are being evaluated. It's not you wouldn't want to purchase a one-size-fits-all audit. You may be buying something you don't need. If we go to a building and we find out the only opportunity is LED lighting, you know, then obviously the cost for that building should be less.
I got no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have this leave behind if you'd like, basically a summary of our process and philosophy. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you both for appearing tonight and give the overviews. Okay, anything from Matt, you or?
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Some real quick updates. Senior Center, going through the environmental phase with New York State grants right now. Once we get that wrapped up, we can jump in and meet. We've got their comments, so we should be getting back to them in about a week. The Sterling Place ponds, which was authorized to go out and do some work. The surveys are done. We're developing the remediation plans now, taking the survey, comparing it to what was the original design and seeing what needs to be done. We'll leave this one to last. The park south of William Street. You guys had asked me to look at town-owned land and school-owned land. We did wrap that up, at least the first cut. There's probably 3 or 4 parcels that are, well, usable. And then the school has one parcel that's very interesting, but I'll let you look through this. The next step would probably be, of those 2 or 3, pick 1 or 2, and we'll dive in, do a little bit more deeper investigation. Wetlands is the big issue. What we've used right now is the GIS mapping for wetlands, but you got to get out there and walk it to really determine, is the mapping accurate? Has the wetland grown? The mapping may be 5 or 6 years old. But there's a couple potentials. There's a lot of land listed in there on the table, but I went through based on size, acreage, and percentage of what we thought was wetland to zero down what might be usable parcels. The historic building, Tom and I are diligently working with the architect to see where he's taking us.
Have you heard back from him?
Yeah, I actually heard from him this morning. He's just about done. He was waiting for his number from his cost estimator to get back to us. So I would expect this week. I'm trying to see something from him.
Were the gutters included in that?
There was a whole assessment included where he's going.
Because everybody has seen the video of the gutters
Yeah.
overflowing.
Yeah, that was that one that we looked at on the, Tom and I we were out there, that was the one on the east side. The one that wasn't,
Southeast
the
corner.
one that wasn't painted, I think,
Yeah.
is where it was coming from, I think. Last thing is, Michelle and I have been dealing with the streetlights. Two things. There's the whole software issue that we're working on. I know the attorney's office had come back with comments on their terms and conditions. That went to the software company. They responded. I forwarded that back to Lisa, so I don't know. Letting them talk. I mean, it wasn't me just being the middleman on that one.
I believe it's still out with Chuck Malcolm,
Okay.
but I'll double check.
All right, that's fine. But the software is actually the easy piece of it. The more complicated piece here is the streetlights. I don't know how many are down right now. There's
48.
48 are down.
And they're on William and Fenors
Yeah.
and complete, they say.
I first reached out to NYSEG, to Sue over at NYSEG, who's our contact, and the issue was that she's even unaware of it. The problem is, the state passed a broadband bill, I don't know what it was, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, they passed their bill to put broadband, throughout New York State. It was kind of coming off of the homeschooling with COVID and all that stuff. These companies were given the green light to go, and right now there's 4 or 5 companies in the town of Lancaster doing wiring for internet. They're a utility, so that's why they weren't required to let the town know they were here, number one. Number two, NYSERDA didn't even know, or NYSEG didn't even know they were here, and that's because they're using NYSEG certified contractors, so that if they have to change a pole, their contractor, they're using, like O'Connell Electric as an example. They're already approved by NYSEG to move NYSEG's equipment from pole to pole. So Sue wasn't even aware of, it took her a while to get back to me. She finally got back to me a list of who the companies were and some contact information. Anyways, going through what they've provided her, the total number of poles to be touched is 840 poles. What we don't know is how many of those poles have lights on. We've got to reach out to each of the companies. I've got to believe they have an inventory because they're out there telling their contractors what to do, and figure out how many things have lights. The contract we have with PC&G, which is the town's contractor for maintenance and moving of lights, it's like $680 a pole to move a light.
But what about the contract that we have with NYSEG? Okay, it shouldn't
That's
shouldn't
our
include these
responsibility to pay for the move.
people. Yeah, that NYSEG takes care of.
No,
But if it's not NYSEG doing it, we still got to pay that?
Well, that's the issue. They're falling back on NYSEG's contract, and that's where I reached out to Senator Gallivan's office. They're researching this. I said, look, it's your guys' law. They don't know if there's provisions in there that these contractors have to reimburse the towns. They're trying to find out for me. So right now, it's a work in process. But in the meantime, you've got 40, whatever number.
Residents are calling.
Lights
The
down.
streets are getting dark.
40 at $600 is $24,000. Just for the ones that are down. If you take 840, let's assume 20% have lights on them, or 25%. You're talking $150,000, $200,000. But obviously, the town didn't budget for it. That we've got to move lights all of a sudden. So more to come. I guess the follow-up question that Michelle and I have is who in the town should, or at least for myself, be coordinating with on the lights?
I thought we were going to give it to REC. Is that still the plan?
Right now, with this issue, it needs to be higher than somebody just coming into this issue. The software, without the software program, Megan can't even answer the responses to these people to fix turning on and off lights. Now we have the hanger cards that aren't installed that, like Ed says, are going to be numerous, or tremendous amount of money. We found another person for $600 a light, but neither of us are in charge of the streetlight budget. I don't know who is in charge of that, what's in it. So I don't know how to proceed forward.
My understanding is that there's training available
Yeah, the software issue, like I said, that's the simple issue. They gave us a proposal to upgrade the software, it has to be upgraded, and to train, it's all remote training anyways, online training. They would train a couple people for 2-3 hours. All that's no cost to the town. That's what's just being worked on with some language in that contract. As soon as that's approved, that part of it can move forward, no problem. That'll be fairly straightforward. The question is, where do we want the software to reside? And then who are you gonna train?
Well, this is always handled, Highway, Katie was always doing this.
Right, that's the issue.
We tried getting her back 2 weeks ago. And
So, didn't somebody else in your office have some training with that as well?
very minimal, very minimal.
Megan?
Megan and Kim were trained a little bit, and so were the secretaries in your office. They were trained first, then it came to highway. Megan and Kim received a little bit of training.
Right,
But right now, the software, you can't,
Can't even get on,
you
she
can't
can't
get
get
on it
online.
because we
right,
don't
that's,
have that
that's,
app.
that issue can be resolved.
That issue would be resolved once the
And then if we're
software.
moving it to parks, they're going out, they have no training. Nor do I know who's really going to do it at parks. Tracy could maybe do it, but as far as the other two, Sue is bombarded with payrolls and summer kids. I mean, a lot of people, Judy and all the trees, that's big.
Yeah, I mean, because the other piece of this is once we resolve this issue of putting the lights back up on these poles that are being changed out, who's gonna be the person who has the authority to reach out to the contractor that we have on
Well,
the
that's,
contract?
back, Danny wanted control of that. That's what.
Yeah, that's where it was.
So- Right, exactly. It was pretty much stuck at the highway. Matter of fact, I think a lot of the units, the excess units that they were keeping are somewhere housed in highway. They were keeping some parts and things of that nature.
Yes, the excess parts.
Inventory, if you will,
Inventory,
this
yes.
way, yeah. I know there came a time where some things were out of our league, where they'd have to call in people. They had a contractor set to,
Yeah, PC and G,
Yeah.
that's what it is, out of Rochester. They're under contract.
Right.
Town has a
So-
on-call contract with them for,
so it seems like we have some internal things to work out on this.
Gotta figure out who's gonna take
Yes.
over.
yeah. In the meantime, I'll keep chasing Senator Gallivan's office and the broadband companies to figure out, so we can get a handle on how many poles we're talking about. We just don't know that question.
Have you seen the contract that we have with NICEAG?
No, but I got a call from a NICEAG, Chad, and I know he called your office as well. The last name escapes me. Said that they'd been in contact with somebody at the supervisor's office, but he couldn't give me a name. He said he thought it was a female. And they were putting together a proposal to identify how many poles and how many lights, because they were not just switching out poles and replacing the lights or moving the lights, they were also raising the lights so they could meet whatever standard that the broadband or the fiber people needed for where they were hanging their equipment.
Okay.
But he
I
called
think-
me and he still couldn't tell me how many we were talking about. He didn't know.
Yeah,
I just
and
got-
obviously, we're concerned about the numbers, but the contract itself, to see if we are bound to pay for this.
That I
if-
haven't
if-
seen.
Yeah, so our agreement was with NICEAG alone,
Our
and these
agreement,
people are just people who are, whatever, contracted by, but not doing it for NICEAG.
Yeah, NICEAG's not even involved, they're out of
Yeah,
it.
I don't see why we're bound to have to pay for this, and these people changing it out
Yeah.
should be taking care of the lights.
I haven't seen it. Do you have it?
Nice, or which contract?
The contract that he's asking me about that we have with NICEAG,
The town has with NICEAG? I don't have it, I mean, there's
or
gotta
who's
be,
responsible on installing new lights or moving lights?
I think I can get it for you.
yeah, I mean, there's a copy, I'm sure there's a copy in York's office. That goes back 2-3 years now, I think, when the streetlight program was done. Yeah, that original contract was the town, but my understanding is the town was responsible to move the light, and that's when that's when
But that's
NICEAG
just with NICEAG.
Yeah, they might
So,
replace 4 or
the
5
rest of these
poles a year,
people-
okay,
See if they shouldn't be paying
poles
for it.
leading over, or poles
You
running,
know,
whatever.
they're not
We
NICEAG.
shouldn't incur that expense
Right.
if they're the ones benefiting from the improvement.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get out of the legislation that was passed. Was there any language in that told these contractors, hey, you gotta reimburse these municipalities for some cost of it?
All right, if you could coordinate with Tom and, sure,
Okay,
thanks.
so again, some internal things to figure out.
Yeah.
It's,
I have one quick thing. The police floor. Donnelly has been asking, I sent an email out, and she would like to get the order placed That is going to be comped, the floor part of it. I just don't know if I should be proceeding. I know the chief, you want to say anything, chief?
No, just that the flooring is with the humidity, the floor is all bubbling up, so we really need to get something going, someone's gonna.
Not sure how long the floor is going to take. I know we have the sandblaster and the contractor that she wanted to work with, so it protects the warranty of the floor, but I'm not sure how to proceed with this. And if I can at least start the floor process in case that's delayed, because the humidity is just bubbling it up even worse, and we're worried about it.
What can we talk about here?
I can tell you this, that I have asked the original installation professionals for contribution, sent them copies of what you had forwarded to the board, and I have not heard back. At this point, they're under no obligation, although he suggested he might volunteer to help remedy, but unless we decide we're going to file a suit against for something as far as the installation of floor preparation, we can't force him to do anything. So it's going to be a determination on whether or not we're going to pay the dollars and go forward and hope for some contribution, or, but irrespective, the floor has to get done.
Right, and this part of it, she's giving us. So do I have the permission to at least get the floor on board, why the board determines the sandblaster and the installer?
Yeah, because we'll need resolutions for that.
Floor is
Yeah.
Floor is free.
Go ahead and proceed with that, and
Yes.
someone will advise on how to proceed with the rest.
Okay, we're past 7 o'clock. There's communications going back and forth. Are you pulling a resolution? Is that still?
Mark, you still want to pull the resolution number 9?
Yes.
You want to pull resolution number 9? Oh, no, I'm sorry, not resolution.
It's not 9, it was,
Oh, not that, right?
yeah, the four-wheel drive.
For the truck, right?
Okay, and I'm hearing that the board wants to look at the 2 energy audits with the agreement of picking one next.
I think that's,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's-
I'm fine with that, as long as we do
Okay.
our due diligence and get our heads together and pick one of them for next meeting. So I will be pulling those 2 resolutions, which are numbers 18 and 19. Okay, so tonight's meeting, welcome everybody. We have, at this point, we have 24 pre-filed resolutions. We have 1 suspended, which is on public improvements permits for Pleasant View Gardens. We have no public hearings. We will have 4 executive sessions, 1 being with the collective bargaining units, 1 being with dog control, 1 being with highway recreation, and another being with the energy audits. We will be closing in memory of 2 people, Robert Mediak, former Town of Lancaster Police Department Lieutenant, and Michael J. Sagliani. So at this point, we'll do the roll call.
Councilmember Burkhardt?
Here.
Councilmember Dickman?
Here.
Councilmember Leary?
Here.
Councilmember Mazur?
Here.
Supervisor Rufino?
Here, the pledge and invocation of our Councilmember Mark Burkhardt.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community.
I'm going to do this at the beginning of the meeting. Can I have representatives from the Town Line Fire Department come up here, please? I believe Chief.
No, chief, just name.
Okay. President.
Chief is still working.
Okay. This Saturday, the Town Line Fire Department basically had their 100-year, but it was the 101st. 101, but because of, we're doing a lot of these things nowadays because of COVID, things are taking place this year. But I'm going to read this because it's quite impressive, and it's a proclamation to your department. It's whereas the Town of Lancaster, in the state of New York, celebrates one of our greatest assets, the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department, and the contributions they make to our community. And whereas the Town of Lancaster recognizes the 101st year of the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department, whose mission as first responders to fires, medical emergencies, and public safety needs serves to protect the lives and property of the residents and visitors of the town of Lancaster and Alden and the surrounding communities. And whereas the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department covers a 22 square mile first alarm district with 7,700 residents and a large amount of businesses and industry. And whereas the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department also responds to mutual aid plans throughout Lancaster and Alden, as well as contribute to the Master Mutual Aid Plan for Erie County. Whereas the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department responds day and night to over 850 calls per year, which includes structure fires, emergency medical needs, motor vehicle accidents, hazardous materials incidents, alarm activations, down power lines, and countless other emergencies. And now, therefore, the Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster hereby proclaims August 6, 2022 as Town Line Volunteer Fire Department Day, and thanks the members for their service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is something that you look at shared services, and, we all share with Mill Grove. So Mill Grove, it's tough for them to get to the other end, which would be the north end of Lancaster. So Mill Grove kind of helps out with us, and same thing going the other way. In the south end of Lancaster, it's very difficult for Mill Grove to get there at a fast response time, so our Town Line assists. So again, this is where, where shared services really come into place, and it really benefits all the residents that, hand in hand. So thank you again.
Thank you. I don't mean to bug out, but I've got to drill to get.
That's why I want to do this early.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will go into anybody that wants to address the 24 pre-filed resolutions, the ones suspended, with the raise of hands? None? Okay, can I ask, how many people are here for the campers? I know I got letters for the campers, and they said some people are going to be showing up. Okay.
Well, Ron, real quick.
No, that's okay.
I just have two committee reports, real fast, and then,
That goes after.
oh,
Yeah. The only reason I brought that up, you're not up until the end. Thank you for the letters. We had a few letters. They're very good. We get these complaints. What I can tell you, you could stay if you'd like, but I placed a phone call to our code enforcement officer. We are going to put a plan in place that's going to be basically amendable to cover both. Again, both letters are awesome, and they hit points, and they should have. And there will be some changes. It's just we're going to have to go through the process properly to make sure, but we are looking at other townships' codes for that. And
Meantime, is my situation on hold then? I'm not going to be fined or sent to jail because my campers in my driveway?
that's going to be a call to Matt. Yeah, you could call Matt tomorrow, Matt, would that be okay?
I think we're okay.
Okay. Okay.
just to reiterate what you said, we are going to meet with the Planning and Zoning Committee with that, and I forwarded all the emails, and everybody said, oh, we got them, about the recreational vehicle situations. Also, I brought it to the planning board's attention with Neil Conley. Neil Conley was going to forward it to the planning board also, so that they would have...
Yeah, they should all be involved.
Any input that they might
Yep.
have in the situation. And Matt was there and said, yeah, it's maybe a law that we need to take a look at, so...
Okay. Again, it's up to you. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to it.
Are you Mrs. Riccione? Riccione. I didn't know how to, I didn't want to butcher it tonight. Riccione, thank you.
My parents are watching all three of my boys, so I'm like, cut out.
Why is that?
No.
They were a little wild loud up and I dropped them off.
But we're 100% aware of your problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So could I comment to the board then? Is this a discussion that's going to be presented to the Planning and Zoning Committee for strategizing a plan of how we're going to activate public hearings and discussion and stakeholders' input? It's something that could be amendable
Yeah, and
to
that's,
this
what he's
this
talking
board?
about, that's good knowledge. It doesn't take place overnight. What happens is, we're going to amend the code, there has to be public hearings for people to come. Now, that public hearing, people like yourself should come to that to address your concerns. But to make any code change, we have to have public hearings before we can make any code change. That's part of the process, so.
Yeah, and we may take a couple weeks for the planning board and, people to take a look at it and let us do our research a little bit. And then after that, we can set up, a public hearing date from that point on.
Great, I really appreciate you looking into this, because three violations, and I'm still within my time frame. So as long as I'm not going to go to jail after August 12th, that would be wonderful. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the work you do. I feel the burden of everything with the street lights, and you guys do a great job. So thank you.
Chief, put your cuffs away, please. Okay, thank you. Official reports?
Okay. July 28th, myself, Councilman Leary, Highway Supervisor Pilato, and Michelle Barbaro, and Ed met, and we discussed a Parks and Recreation Facilities Capital Plan. So we're setting up a committee, or we're using the committee, the Recreation Committee, at least to get the ball rolling on it. We're going to start to look at our wants and needs, really needs, what we need to be fixed. We think it's a great idea going forward that, instead of being reactionary, we have some kind of plan set up to take some of these, and everybody got the emails, and, we're going to go with it, and everybody was positive emails about doing it. So Ed sent some aerials over today. We're going to start looking at, Westwood first, and inventory everything that we have there, everything that needs to be fixed there, and moving on. And hopefully in controlled buildings, or include buildings with that, not just recreation facilities.
Good. Anything over here, guys? No, we're good? So, just a couple of Saturday night, I attended the 101st anniversary for Town Line. Very, very nice event, very well deserved. I see Chet in the audience. I know yesterday you had a open house between 12 and 4. Apologize, I couldn't make it. I'm making a few things right nowadays. How did that go? I mean, that was. And I know you had some training that was going on throughout the hours and that. And it looked like a great event.
People showed up, and yeah, we did do some training. We did hands-only CPR, stop the bleed, which is a temperature control, and choking for children and infants. And the whole theme around the open house was for residents to know what to do before the ambulance gets there. And I think it was very well received. The classes were. Our training room was just jam-packed. People were really very interested in all the classes that we ran. We also had a clip of the arson dogs there. We were doing car seat checks. Lancaster PD was there doing IDs for kids. We had free food, free drinks. It was really a very fun time, but very informative and well received.
It's great that you folks do things like that for our community. And I attended one, Bowmansville substation, had one about a month and a half ago or so. And there was quite a few people. And what they did was basically they had things, it was more or less kid generated. They had a smokehouse that the kids can go into. They actually had them putting out fires with a hose and stuff like that. And then they had a demonstration of Jaws of Life and stuff. And those events are very well attended. And again, that's what you get out of a community, a loving, caring community, and it's great to see that. So thank you very much for your time and efforts and putting forth, educational things like that.
Could I put in a plug for the Rotary Club?
You sure could.
Okay. The Rotary Club of Lancaster Depew is having its car and bike show this Wednesday, August 10th at Russell Steakhouse. It's $15 per car entry. Arrive between 4 and 7 p.m. The first 50 cars receive a free gift. This will be a judge show, and awards and prizes will be distributed by 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have one here for the Lieutenant Colonel Matt Urban VFW Post 7275 at 3741 Walden Avenue on Saturday, August 13th. They are holding their Polka Fest from 4 to 7. Tickets are $15 at the door, or you can reserve a table 8 for $110. So if you're interested, please contact them. You can contact them at 716-681-8387. With that, we can move on to resolutions. I'd like to move resolution number 1. This was out the minutes of the regular meeting of the town board held on July 18, 2022. Being hereby approved. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Serafino?
Although I was not there, I did review the minutes, and I could vote yes. I'd like to move resolution number 2, and this is out the following audit claims being hereby ordered paid from the respective accounts as per abstract to be filed in the office of the town clerk by the assistant to the supervisor. It's check run number 08082022. Total amount hereby authorized paid is $1,861,367.73. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Serafino?
Yes. Councilmember Mazur, number 3 and 4,
Yes,
please.
Mr. Supervisor, Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution before its adoption. Be it resolved that the following building permit application is being hereby reaffirmed. There was a total of 94 between the town and village, 66 in the town, 28 in the village. Really quickly to break it down, 17 fence permits, 7 roof permits, 3 generators, 9 pool permits, 4 sheds, 5 decks, porch covers was 2 single-family dwellings, 3 signs, residential alterations, 6 commercial additions or alterations, 2 solar panels, 3, 1 garage, 1 gazebo, and 1 pergola. That was in the town. And in the village, 28 in the village, 5 roofs, 4 fences, 2 sheds, 4 dumpsters, 2 signs, 2 porch covers, 5 pools, 3 residential alterations or additions, and 1 commercial alteration. Now therefore be it resolved, the building permit application herein coded CSW for conditional sidewalk waiver be and are hereby reaffirmed with the waiver of the town ordinance required for sidewalks. However, the waiver is granted upon the express condition that the town of Lancaster at any future date reserves the right to order sidewalk installation at the expense of the property owner.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Serafino?
Yes.
Resolution number 4, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has heretofore held a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14 administration and enforcement, Section 400-78 special use permits upon the application of Joanne Rocco for the special use permit for home occupation, which would be antiques, home decor, and handcrafted items on premises located at 5300 William Street, Lancaster, and the board issued such a special use permit on August 4th, 2008. And whereas per its terms and conditions, the special use permit is currently up for renewal, and whereas requested by the town board, renew the special permit for Joanne Rocco has requested the town board renew the special permit for an additional 2-year term. And whereas Matt Fischone, code enforcement officer, has recommended approval for this special use permit renewal per his letter dated July 1st, 2022, now therefore it be resolved as follow. The number 1, pursuant to Chapter 400, Article 4, Residential District, Section 400-16, Special Regulations for ARR and MFMU, home occupations, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster does hereby grant special use permit renewal to Joanne Rocco for home occupation located at 5300 William Street upon the terms and conditions set forth in the zoning ordinance for the period beginning August 4th, 2022 and ending August 3rd, 2024. And 2, that the applicant will continue to be in compliance with conditions as set forth in Section 400-16F, home occupations, and 400-78 special use permits of the Code of Town of Lancaster, and to any additional conditions listed herein, as long as the applicant continues to engage in his home occupation on the premises, namely, A, special use permit terminates when the applicant no longer resides on the premises. B, permit must be renewed every 2 years at no additional cost to the applicant. C, applicant will authorize representatives from the building inspector's office to enter the premises upon reasonable notice to inspect the premises to verify compliance. And D, applicant will provide a copy of the business New York state and federal tax ID number, and when applicable, a license from the appropriate regulatory agency for the service being provided.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 5, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I'm offering Resolution Number 5 for adoption. Whereas Town of Lancaster's Police Chief William Karn Jr. has requested to purchase 57 new Glock handguns for the use by all the town's sworn law enforcement officers. And whereas the equipment is available from the New York State contract number PC 68729, Group 35200, and awarded number 23155 through authorized state contractor Amchar Wholesales, Inc., in the amount of $26,861.39 per their quote IDL 32800 dated June 3rd, 2022, which eliminates the need for competitive bidding pursuant to Section 103 of General Municipal Law. And whereas the Lancaster Police Department will be trading in their used handguns over time and anticipate receiving approximately $18,605 from Amchair Wholesales, Inc., which will offset the cost. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of 57 new Glock handguns under New York State contract and award and accepts the quote dated June 3rd, 2022 from authorized New York State contractor Amchar Wholesales, Inc., as proposed by the Police Chief William Karn Jr. for an amount not to exceed $26,861.39, which will be offset by the approximate amount of $18,605 that is anticipated as the used gun and trade-in, and be it further resolved that the Chief of Police, William Karn Jr., be and is hereby authorized to execute the quote as acceptance on behalf of the Town of Lancaster.
May I have a second?
Second.
Just one quick question, just out of curiosity, Chief. How old are the guns that we're trading in?
Approximately 4 years old.
Yeah, because I don't recall doing this a lot, so that's, yeah. And it's just probably, you know, all the upgrades and things of that nature of newer. Okay, good, very good, thank you. Any other questions? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 6. Be it resolved, the Town of Lancaster, location code 30040, hereby establishes the following as standard workdays for these titles and will report the officials to New York State and local retirement system based on the record of activities. It's for 4 elected officials and 3 appointed officials. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, can I have number 7, please?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I'm offering Resolution Number 7 for adoption. Whereas Twin District Volunteer Fire Company, Inc., by letter received July 15th, 2022, has requested the addition of the following member to the roster of said fire association. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby confirms the addition to the membership of the Twin District Volunteer Fire Company, the following individual: Kyle No.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 8. In this resolve, that Elizabeth Bull of Lancaster, New York, being hereby appointed to the full-time provisional position of Building and Zoning Clerk in the Town of Lancaster Building Department effective August 9th, 2022, contingent upon approval by the Erie County Department of Personnel, and that such appointment shall be subject to all applicable provisions of the collective negotiations agreement between the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA White Collar Union and all applicable provisions of law. Be it further resolved that the supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Is Elizabeth in the audience tonight? Okay. Okay, Councilmember Mazer, number 9 and
Number
10.
9. Yep. Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move forward to adoption. Whereas the Town Board is considering the approval of a proposed amended site plan to construct a commercial CNG station parking lot to hold a maximum of 35 box trucks, 20 day cabs, 25 passenger vehicles, along with various site improvements submitted by Andrew West on behalf of Triad Distributing Incorporated to their existing facility located at 4155 Walton Avenue in the town of Lancaster, and whereas the town of Lancaster Planning Board has reviewed the environmental impact of the project pursuant to seeker regulations at their meeting on July 20th, 2022, and recommended a negative declaration be issued. Whereas the town board has duly considered the plans for the construction project using the short environmental assessment form, criteria for determining the significance set forth in seeker, and such other information deemed appropriate, including the recommendation of the town of Lancaster Planning Board. And whereas the town board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern, has taken a hard look at these areas, has made a reasoned elaboration for the basis of its determination, and whereas the proposed action is labeled an unlisted action under seeker. Now therefore it be resolved by the town board of the town of Lancaster that number one, this project is described as a construction of a commercial CNG station parking lot, total maximum of 35 box trucks, 20 day cabs, and 25 passenger vehicles, along with various site improvements to the existing Triad Distributing Company facility located at 4155 Walden Avenue, will not result in any large or important impacts, and therefore it is an action which will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore the board issues the attached negative declaration of environmental significance for the reasons stated therein. 2, the town clerk shall file a copy of the negative declaration in the file for the project. 3, the town attorney's office shall prepare and file a notice of determination of non-significance with the petitioner and with all required New York State and Erie County agencies, filing a copy of the letter of transmittal. And 4, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 10, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas on August 7th, 2017, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster approved the site plan submitted by Joseph David of the Angry Buffalo Sports Garden Arena for the construction of a 26,400 square foot building to contain a flag football athletic field located at 2753 Worley Drive in the Town of Lancaster. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic caused construction and personal delays that prohibited the applicant from completing the required site approval conditions, so construction was not started within the 2-year time period. And by letter dated July 28, 2022, Michael Metzger, P.E., designated representative, has requested that the town board grant an extension to the August 7, 2017 site plan approval, which was revoked on August 7, 2019 per Town Code, Section 400-75D9. And whereas the applicant submitted a current site plan to the Planning Board for review at their May 5, 2021 meeting, and recommendation of reapproval was made at the Town Board, and whereas Town Code Section 475D9 provides that the Town Board may grant a one-time additional 1-year extension for the 2-year time limitation for commencement of development from the date of approval, and whereas the applicant has fulfilled all the conditions stipulated by the town and planning boards, now therefore it be resolved that the town board of the Town of Lancaster, using the authority granted in its section 400-75D9, does hereby grant a one-time additional 1-year extension to the 2-year statutory approval of site plan previously granted to Joseph David of Angry Buffalo Sports Garden Arena for the construction of a 26,400 square foot building to contain a flag football athletic field located at 2753 Worley Drive in the Town of Lancaster, to commence August 8, 2022 and terminate August 8, 2023. The following conditions: number 1, contractor provide an as-built survey to the building department prior to the certificate of compliance or occupancy. 2, private improvement permits will be required to initiate construction. And 3, no further extensions will be granted beyond August 8, 2023.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. As we stated, number 11 is tabled, so we're going to move on to number 12. I'd like to move resolution number 12, and be it resolved that Chief William Karn, Captain Jeffrey Smith, Lieutenant Jonathan Zeiders, and Lieutenant William Gummel of the Town of Lancaster Police Department are hereby authorized to attend the Erie County Law Enforcement Training Academy Seminar in Amherst, New York on September 22nd, 2022. Be it further resolved that the total cost of attendance of all 4 officers at the above-mentioned training course is hereby authorized in an amount not to exceed $640 for actual necessary expenses, including the cost of registration and meal expenses for one day on the specified date of training, and be it further resolved that all requests for reimbursement must be presented in the form of original itemized receipts for actual and necessary expenses upon submission of the proper documentation to the accounting department of the town of Lancaster. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd also like to move resolution number 13. Now therefore be it resolved that Lieutenant Sean Domino and Lieutenant Angela Greco of the Town of Lancaster Police Department are hereby authorized to attend the 2022 FBI Great Lakes Leadership Seminar in Niagara Falls, New York from October 2nd through October 7th, 2022. Be it further resolved that the total cost of attendance for the two officers at the above-mentioned training course is hereby authorized in an amount not to exceed $750 for actual and necessary expenses, including the cost of registration and meal expenses for 6 days on specified dates of training. And be it further resolved that all requests for reimbursement must be presented in the form of original itemized receipts for the actual necessary expenses upon submission of the proper documentation to the accounting department of the town of Lancaster. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 14. And this resolves the Town Board of Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of one new and unused 2022 Ford Transit X2C passenger van off New York State contract PC 68934, Group 40440, award number 23166 from state contractor Fenton Mobility Products for the cost of $52,028.66 per the quote dated July 22nd as proposed by the Town of Lancaster Senior Center Recreation Supervisor. Be it further resolved that the purchase will be paid for with the $48,638 provided through the New York State Community Development Block Grant made available through the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economy Security Acts, the CARES Act, and the remaining $3,390.66 paid for with funds available from the town's 2022 programs for the aging equipment passenger vehicles budget and the revenue generated from the van usage. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, another great thing, great work, by everybody involved, our grant writer, Mary Beth from the Senior Center. It helps our taxpayers when these grants are out there. These are, required, needed vehicles, and the less burden that we could put on our local tax dollars, the better off it is. And by applying for these grants, we're able to, provide that type of savings, if you will, for our taxpayers. I'd like to move resolution number 15, and be it resolved that public improvement permit application number 843 of Andrew Romanowski of 4727 Camp Road of Hamburg, New York, for the installation of the proposed installation of 5 lights per town specifications in the Autumnwood subdivision along Kenwood Lane and Hickory Lane. Being is hereby approved and the installation of the improvement requested be hereby authorized. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question.
What is this going to cost us? Who's paying for this?
The developer.
Well, okay,
Right,
thank you.
Yeah.
On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Okay. I'd like to move resolution number 16, whereas the town board has previously paid the positions below semi-annually and would like to now pay these positions bi-weekly in order to be consistent with the bi-weekly pay schedule followed by all their town Lancaster employees. Now therefore be it resolved that the following scheduled salaries being and hereby effective August 9th, 2022. And basically this is for our planning board people, our zoning board people, and the clerk of the zoning board and the register of vital statistics. Be it further resolved that the terms of this resolution shall supersede the relevant terms of any previously adopted resolution, policies, or practices to the contrary. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Larry?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 17, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas Lucas James has submitted a site plan application for the approval prepared by Dean Architects dated January 1st, 2022, and drawings prepared by DEL Resource dated February 2nd, 2022, with revision dates March 10th, 2022, and received March 29th, 2022. Drawing C2 is a final revision date of May 12th, 2022, and was received by May 13th, 2022, for proposed construction of a motel mixed-use facility to include extended stay units on the second floor and 2 handicapped accessible units on the first floor, along with commercial space and a coffee shop with drive-through to be located at 5827 Broadway in the town of Lancaster. And whereas the site plan for this project was submitted to the planning board and was recommended for approval at their June 15, 2022 meeting, and whereas the town planning board has completed an environmental review for the project on April 20th, 2022, in conformance with seeker regulations, and the town board acting as lead agency issued a negative declaration May 16th, 2022. Now therefore it be it resolved that the town board, town of Lancaster, hereby approves the site plan submitted by Lucas James, which contains drawings prepared by Dean Architects dated January 1st, 2022, and drawings prepared by DEL Resource dated February 2nd, 2022, with revision dates of March 10th, 2022, and received March 29th, 2022. Drawing C2 as a final revision date of May 12th, 2022, and received on May 13th, 2022, for the proposed construction of a motel mixed-use facility to include extended stay units on the second floor and 2 handicapped accessible units on the first floor, along with commercial space and a coffee shop with a drive-through to be located at 5827 Broadway in the town of Lancaster with the following conditions. 1, approval is for option B relating to the location of the dumpster, which will be located and remain on the property owned by the applicant. 2, a private improvement permit will be required to initiate construction. 3, contractor to provide an as-built survey to the building department prior to any certificates of compliance occupancy being issued. 4, applicants shall address comments provided by the New York State Department of Transportation in their memorandum dated April 6, 2022, which shall be incorporated and verified in items 2 and 3 above. And 5, a performance bond shall be provided in accordance with Section 400-75E of the Town Code in the Town of Lancaster.
May I have a second? I'll second it. On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
No.
Councilmember Dickman?
No.
Councilmember Larry?
No.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. As we discussed earlier, on table 18 and 19, and next meeting, we should come back with one selected proposal. Councilmember Mazer, number 20 through 22, please.
Sure. Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas on May 2nd, 2022, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has heretofore held a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 9, Communication Towers, Section 400-48 procedure of the Code of the Town of Lancaster upon the application of Donald Carpenter on behalf of Dish Wireless for a special use permit for a telecommunications tower, co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunications equipment for a new carrier to be placed on the current tower located at Mohawk Place, Upstate Tower Site Buff 602B, which will be identified as Dish Wireless in the town of Lancaster, New York, and whereas persons for and against such special use permit have an opportunity to be heard, and whereas the town, acting as lead agency under the state or seeker, has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and determined the action to be a Type 2 action under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 400-zoning, Article 9, Communication Towers 400-43, co-locating antennas of the Town Code of the Town of Lancaster, the Lancaster Town Board does hereby approve a special use permit for Donald Carpenter on behalf of Dish Wireless for a telecommunications tower, co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunications equipment for a new carrier to be placed on the current tower located at Mohawk Place, Upstate Tower Site 602B, which will be identified as Dish Wireless site in the town of Lancaster, New York, subject to the applicable terms and conditions set forth in Article 9 Communication Towers and 400-78 Special Use Permits with the following condition. A copy of the FCC license must be on file with the town clerk pursuant to subsection 400-46A9.
May I have a second
Second.
on the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Mr. Supervisor, Honorable Town Board, I have the following resolution move for its adoption. Whereas on June 20th, 2022, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has heretofore held a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning Article 9 Communication Towers 400-48 procedure of the Code of Town of Lancaster upon application of Cassandra Darmody, agent for T-Mobile Northeast, for a special use permit for telecommunications tower co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunications equipment for a new carrier to be placed on the current tower located at Mohawk Place, Upstate Tower Site Buff 602B, which will be identified as T-Mobile Northeast Site name Walden Avenue in the town of Lancaster, New York, and whereas persons for and against such special use permit have been an opportunity to be heard, and whereas the town, acting as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and determined that action to be a Type 2 action under SEQR. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 9, Communication Towers, 400-43, co-locating antennas of the Town Code of the Town of Lancaster, the Lancaster Town Board does hereby approve a special use permit for Cassandra Darmody, agent for T-Mobile Northeast, for the telecommunications tower co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunication equipment for a new carrier to be placed on the current tower located at Mohawk Place, which will be identified as T-Mobile Northeast, site name Walden Avenue in the town of Lancaster, New York, subject to the applicable terms and conditions set forth in Article 9 Communication Towers and 400-78 Special Use Permits with the following condition. A copy of the FCC license must be on file with the town clerk pursuant to section 400-46A9.
May I have a second? I'll second it. On the question? On the roll?
Well, on the question with this is, we, in the past, we voted on 5G. We will move forward and reluctantly say yes, but we would like to have a independent study done on RF radiation, RF frequency. The studies that I didn't receive every study. I just received names and dates. In 2018 was the last study done. And if you understand any type of research, that was probably at least 4 years before that started. So it's an old study. I will vote yes, but with an independent study of those towers, once that goes up, is the frequency amplified with all of them up there? Where the study's done just on one. So I just wanted to say that.
On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 22, Mr. Supervisor and Town Board, I offer the following resolution for its adoption. There's David Mazo, council member of the Town of Lancaster Town Board, has recommended the appointment of Michael Reinhold as a member of the Town of Lancaster Planning Board due to the resignation of Stanley Keys III. Now therefore be it resolved that Michael Reinhold, Lancaster, New York, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Lancaster Planning Board for the term commencing August 22nd, 2022 through December 31st, 2025, thereby filling the term vacated by Stanley Keys III, and be it further resolved that the supervisor of the town of Lancaster be authorized to take all necessary actions to implement the foregoing.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, you have 23 through 25.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I'm offering resolutions 23, 24, and 25 for adoption. Whereas by letter dated August 2nd, 2022, John Drzdowski, Executive Director of the Town of Lancaster's Youth Bureau, has requested an increase to the rate of pay in the amount of 80 cents per hour for Richard Clements, a part-time seasonal tutor, to bring his salary in alignment with other part-time seasonal town employees. And whereas a fee is charged to the students receiving tutoring services which offsets the cost of his salary. Now therefore be it resolved that the rate of pay for Richard Clements be adjusted to $14 per hour effective August 8th, 2022, and be it further resolved that the supervisor of the town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing.
May I have a second?
Second?
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
It's not that I'm against giving these raises, but at the time, I think they should be adjusted after we settle our union contracts. We have 4 union contracts we're still trying to negotiate and settle. So with that, I'm going to vote no at this time.
Resolution 24. Whereas the Lancaster Historical Society is proposing to complete needed improvements to the Lancaster District School Number 6 Little Red Schoolhouse, located at 3703 Bowen Road, consisting of a new roof and handicap ramp, masonry remediation, and updating the current heating cooling system in a plus 1.5 acre parcel. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster must comply with SECRA and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617.4B9 in the review of the action, and whereas the Town Board is an involved agency pursuant to SECRA, and whereas the Town Board has determined that the action is a Type 1 action under SECRA requiring a coordinated review, and whereas the Town Board intends to serve as a lead agent for the coordinated SECRA review of the action, and now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that, number 1, the action is hereby determined to be a Type 1 action under SECRA. 2, the Town Board hereby declares its intent to act as lead agent pursuant to SECRA for the purpose of conducting the environmental review of the action. 3, the Town Board hereby directs the town attorney to send the notice of intent to act as lead agent to the other involved interested agencies pursuant to SECRA. 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution 25. Whereas the Town of Lancaster is the owner of the Lancaster District School Number 6 Little Red Schoolhouse, located 3703 Bowen Road, and maintains the facility as part of operations and maintenance agreement with the Lancaster, New York Historical Society. And whereas the Little Red Schoolhouse is in need of a new roof and handicap ramp, masonry repair work, and replacement of the current heating cooling system to make this historical landmark safer and more enjoyable for the public. And whereas the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning is accepting applications for a new $25 million cultural capital grant program designed to strengthen cultural organizations in Erie County so that they can continue to be places of inspiration, education, and entertainment in our community. And whereas the town acting as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and determined the action to the Type 1 action under 6 NCRR Part 617.4B9. Now therefore be resolved that the Town of Lancaster as owner hereby encourages the Lancaster, New York Historical Society to make application to the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning for the Cultural Capital Grant Program for funding to make needed improvements to the Little Red Schoolhouse. Be it further resolved that as further evidence of its role as owner of the facility and in recognition of the town's interest in maintaining this historical landmark, the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes and directs Karen Sutton, President, Lancaster, New York Historical Society, to complete the necessary application forms, etc., to be submitted to the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning for the purposes of securing this grant. And be it further resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute all documents pertaining to the application and acquisition of said funding, including all grant agreements, pending review and approval by the town attorney.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 26, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move the following resolution for adoption. Whereas Michelle Barbaro, Deputy Highway Superintendent, has requested to install a 3.5-ton air conditioning system to be located within the town of Lancaster Library, located at 5466 Broadway. Whereas the Deputy Highway Superintendent solicited written requests for proposals from 3 vendors to provide and install the 3.5-ton air conditioning system in accordance with the town of Lancaster's procurement policy. And whereas by letter dated August 2nd, 2022, Michelle Barbaro has recommended that the town of Lancaster award the project to Molenberg Betts Incorporated to provide and install a 3.5-ton air conditioning system within the town of Lancaster Library at a cost of $11,035 per their quote. Whereas funding for the project is available from the town's 2022 library equipment and buildings equipment, other capital outlay budgets. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby accepts and authorizes the supervisor to execute the proposal to supply and install 3.5-ton air conditioning system within the town of Lancaster's library, located at 5466 Broadway, from Molenberg Betts, 300 Scott Street, Buffalo, New York, as proposed by Deputy Highway Superintendent Michelle Barbaro, in accordance with the quote included with her request for an amount not to exceed $11,035, and which will be paid for with funds available in the town's 2022 library equipment and buildings equipment, other capital outlay budgets.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 27, whereas due to the ever-changing cost of fossil fuels needed to operate the various town-owned vehicles and equipment, certain town departments have exhausted the funds allocated for oil and gasoline accounts within their respective budgets, and whereas the town of Lancaster's finance director has requested permission to make occasional budgetary adjustments to the 2022 adopted budget of the town of Lancaster by transferring funds into the oil and gasoline budget accounts of the town departments on an as-needed basis for the remainder of 2022 calendar year. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the finance director of the town of Lancaster be and hereby is authorized and directed to make such adjustments to all oil and gasoline overspended accounts from available unexpended funds within the 2022 budget on an as-needed basis for the remainder of 2022 calendar year. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So we have to ask for a suspension of rules. So there is one suspended. Councilman Dickman, you want to ask for a suspension of the rules?
I'll make a motion, we suspend the rules.
Okay, motion made. May I have a second?
Second.
On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members. I move the suspended resolution for its adoption. Whereas Pleasant View Gardens LLC, 4430 Walden Avenue, Lancaster, New York, 14086, has applied to the town board of the town of Lancaster for a permit for public improvements upon real property in the town of Lancaster within the Cross Creek subdivision, and that's Phase 9. And whereas the town engineer of the town of Lancaster is certified on the following permit application that he has reviewed the improvement plans and permit application for the installation of the public improvements requested, and that they conform to the ordinance of the town of Lancaster. Now therefore be it resolved that the public improvement permit application number 842 for Pleasant View Gardens LLC of Walden Avenue, Lancaster, New York, which is a permit for public improvements for the installation of a storm sewer, Cross Creek subdivision, Phase 9 at 538 Pavement Road. And that would be the installation of 230 linear feet of 15-inch pipe, 356 linear feet of 24-inch pipe, and a catch basin and receivers.
Second.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Okay, we're going to go on to our communications. 489 and 490 are received and filed. 491, Planning Committee. 492 through 494 received and filed. 495, Planning Committee. 496 through 499 received and filed. 500 is Planning Committee. 501 and 502 are for resolution. 503 is resolution tonight. 504 through 506 received and filed. 507, resolution tonight. 508 received and filed. 509 for resolution. 510 and 511, Planning Committee. 512 is resolution tonight. 513 is Town Attorney. 514 through 522, Planning Committee. 523 received and filed. 524 through 528 received and filed. 529, Planning Committee. 530 is resolution tonight. 531 received and filed. 532 and 533 for resolution. 534 through 537, resolution tonight. 538 is for resolution. 539 is received and filed. 540 is resolution tonight. 541 through 543 received and filed. And 544 is resolution tonight. So we come to the point of the meeting where anybody could talk about, provide comments on any subject matter. Please note that you have 5 minutes. What you would do is come up, give your name and address, and speak to any conversation that's near and dear to your heart. Gentleman coming up here,
My name and address?
please.
James Sugg, 66 Williamsburg Lane, Lancaster, New York. The reason I'm here is a lot of residents on my street received a letter about having the sidewalks repaired. And the condition of the sidewalks is due to actions by the town. You planted the trees in between the curb and the sidewalks, and the roots are lifting up the sidewalks and causing all kinds of problems. In 2014, we had this November storm with 7 foot of snow. When you got the street opened up, somebody came in with huge equipment in the middle of the night and pushed the snow back into everybody's front yard, went up over the curbs, sidewalks, and lawns, and damaged everything. 2015, you came and repaired the lawn damage, but no one ever came back and fixed the sidewalks like they said they were going to. And that's why the sidewalks are in the condition they are. I spoke to, let me get the letter out here. I spoke to Craig and told him the same thing. And I talked to him on the telephone, and he said he would get back to me, and I haven't heard from him yet, so.
That's Matt, your department, right?
Yes.
That's why I came to the town board meeting tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Leslie Sikorsky, and I live at 75 Williamsburg Lane. And the sidewalks, as that gentleman just said, are atrocious from the point of the storms. I did not receive a letter because mine happens to be okay, but the trees that are planted between the street and the sidewalk, the roots are going into my plumbing. Twice now I've had to have somebody come in and snake out my drains because of the roots. So, and they're not my trees. When I moved in, those trees were already planted there by the town. So, I don't know what else to do about them, other than cut them down. But I don't think I can cut those trees down, can I? No? Okay. And there's another lady here who happened to fall on one of the sidewalks down at the end of Williamsburg Lane, and she was injured. She may want to come up and say the same thing, I do not know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? For a second time? And a third time? Okay, we are going to go into executive session, as I stated earlier. Everybody, thank you for attending. Have a great night, and thank you for your input.
You have to vote to go into executive session. You have to vote to go into executive.
Oh, yeah. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive
Second.
session.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the roll, please.
Councilmember Burkhardt?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Take the meeting off. I'm okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I said, yes, I just needed to get the councilman before. One moment. Mark, is there a time you want to talk about that purchase, the vehicle purchase resolution, or?